So today we're going to be talking about what not to do with your emergency fund. So stick around. Hello fellow wealth builders and welcome back to the TruFinancials channel. My name is Dennis and on this show we love to talk about personal finance, investing, and retirement to help build your wealth. So if you are new here, definitely consider subscribing today and do not forget to hit that little bell icon to get notifications when new videos and live streams go up. Alright, so before we get started, let me know in the comments section down below, how are you doing with an emergency fund? Do you have a fully funded emergency fund, a starter emergency fund, or maybe are you not even having an emergency fund as of right now? Let me know in that comment section down below so we can see how we're all doing. So the biggest thing that you do not want to be doing when it comes to an emergency fund is having it invested. Now, I know there are some things that you can kind of go base off of, and I will have a little story about that here in just a second, but for a majority of us, and for most things, I think that having an emergency fund invested is one of the worst things we can be doing because that money needs to be relatively available. And when you have that money invested, typically in like the stock market, and let's say you need that money to come out right away because something has happened and that market is down 10, 20%, whatever it is, you have to take those losses as is because you have to utilize that money. So we want to be very cautious with what we do with our emergency fund when it's obviously just sitting there not doing anything. Because I know it can be very daunting, especially when it's a very fully funded emergency fund, to have, you know, $8, $10, $12,000 just sitting around not really doing much when it can be earning some money. So I understand the temptations of wanting to invest it, but understanding also too the risks that come involved with having that invested, because we recently had a small downturn in the market at the beginning of February 2018. So if you actually had an emergency during that time and you had to pull money out, you would have had to take those losses because you needed that money right away. Now, obviously, you know, if you could have waited, that's great, but a lot of times with emergencies, you need that money within a small period of time, so you have to take those losses. And that's something I wouldn't want you to do, especially when it comes to having something go wrong in your life and you have to utilize that money for it. So one of the interesting things that I've heard recently was actually from another financial channel called One Big Happy, where they talked about having money in a CD but split up between 12 months, so that way they have money available if something were to happen in that given month. Now, I'm not condoning that for most people, but I do find it very interesting in a very unique way when it comes to having your emergency fund invested, but not necessarily as high risk as most other types of investments. So what I'll do is I'll link that video in the description box down below so you guys can check that out. Like I said, I found it very interesting. I'll see if I could put a timestamp on that too, so it kind of just jumps you to that portion, and so they can do a little bit better explaining the way that they do it that way. But again, that's not really the way I personally would do it, but I do find it interesting that somebody else can find a better way to have their money invested. So the way I have my emergency fund set up is it is in an online bank with Capital One. They currently have, as of this video, a 1% interest rate on the money in the savings account. So every single month we earned 1% on our money. So right now we have about almost $1,600 in the emergency fund. So every month we make a little bit of money on that, but we have that money available for us to be able to use in case of an emergency, and it's very quick for us to be able to access that money. We don't lose anything for having it in there. It is FDIC insured, so if something were to happen overall, we can actually have that money still available to us. So it doesn't lose anything, but it does gain just a tiny bit. Now, 1% on that money, of course, is not as much as we can get in the stock market or in mutual funds, but again, it is a lot lower risk in that sense that we need that money at any given time, because we just never know when we need it, that emergency fund, and we need that money available to us. So we want to make sure that we have it quickly accessible without the potential for losing out on that money. Now, of course, as I mentioned, when you get to a fully funded emergency fund, it can be even more difficult because that's a lot more money sitting in there. Again, not really doing much, earning maybe 1%, 2% on their money. But I think just the safety of what that will give you is going to be a lot more freedom versus the risk that you have to take when it comes to having that money in the stock markets or other types of investments. Now, the great thing is, if you did get to that point where you have a fully funded emergency fund, you obviously have the ability to save more money, which then means you can start investing some in other ways. Now, that's going to be obviously a video for another day. So I am all about having our emergency funds in low risk areas, whether if that's even just having that cash out and having it in an envelope stuck somewhere in the house, whether it's in your regular bank accounts or whether it's on those online bank accounts so you can earn just that much more interest. Those are the ways I would prefer it myself, and that's the way I do it. So let me know in the comment section down below what you are doing with your emergency fund. Do you have it invested? Do you have it in just an online savings account? Do you have it in just a regular bank account? I'd definitely like to know. And then also too, if you disagree with me, that's totally fine as well too. You are welcome to let me know in the comment section down below, why it is that you want to have your money invested versus having it, just sitting around waiting for you to be able to use, so that way you don't take any more of that risk. If you enjoyed this video, do not forget to hit that like button. And then also too, if you have one additional friend that can benefit from these videos, definitely share this out with them so that they can become a fellow wealth builder as well and join us in the community here. Thank you so much, fellow wealth builders, for watching, and have a great day. All right, and if you made it to the end of this video here today, I have 2 more for you here to continue to binge watch. This top one up here is going to be my most recent release, and then this one down here is going to be one that YouTube recommends for you if you'd like to continue watching.